Tensions around Paris with the French farmer protest have been mounting. On January 31st, French police detained over 79 individuals who broke into the wholesale food market south of Paris, where supermarket stores and restaurants go to buy their supplies. Farmers initially were rebuffed at the entrance, with French police arresting 18, but later in the day, some of the protesters managed to enter the facility and dozens more were subsequently arrested. This incident is part of the larger movement, where convoys of tractors and protesting farmers have closed in on Paris, Lyon, and other strategic locations across France. The protests are being driven by farmers' demands for higher incomes, less bureaucracy, meaning less red tape and environmental regulations which drive up their costs, as well as protection against cheap imports. These demands come as farmers are particularly concerned about the government's plans to reduce subsidies on agricultural diesel and the requirement to devote or convert 4% of their farmland to non-productive areas, meaning the government wants to just take 4% of the farmers' land away from them and make it unusable. The French government did try offering some concessions to the farmers, including promises of higher payouts under the European Union's Common Agricultural Policy and measures to control fuel prices for farming machinery, but the farmers have rebuffed these attempts, deeming them insufficient. And indeed, the farmers seem to have finally gotten the attention that they so wanted from the government. Their actions are significantly impacting the country's transportation. Tractors are blocking major highways and access roads to Paris and other major cities, causing widespread traffic disruptions. The protests, which have been ongoing for more than 2 weeks now, have brought traffic to a standstill in many places, as tractors are blocking lanes or entire sections of highways. They have advanced towards Orly Airport, south of Paris, and other major cities and towns, including Lyon. In addition to blocking roads, the farmers have also established 8 choke points along major highways. The blockades have caused difficulties in the food supply chain, with deliveries becoming extremely difficult due to the roadblocks. And now rumors abound that the French government might very well declare a national emergency due to the escalating tensions and protests by farmers across the country. However, as of time of this filming, no official declaration has yet been made. That being said, the French Prime Minister has been reported as saying that all options are on the table to restore order, which could potentially include declaring a state of emergency. The government has also announced new measures to calm the farmers' protests, including emergency cash aid and controls on imported food. In the past, states of emergency in France have been granted special powers to the executive branch, allowing for measures such as house arrests, search without establishing a link with a crime, and restrictions on movement. A state of emergency could potentially give the government additional powers to try and quell the current crisis. However, it is important to note that declaring a state of emergency is a significant step that would likely be taken only if the government believes it can get away with it, and that in of itself might be a problem. You see, an opinion poll last week showed that 90% of French citizens are backing the protests. Public opinion, my friends, plays a significant role in shaping government actions, and in this case, the French government would be deeply concerned about the potential political fallout from declaring a national emergency against a movement that has such a widespread of public support. Make a wrong move here, and they could be putting fuel on an already white-hot fire, potentially leading to further public backlash and even more intense protests. And while all of this is going on, the French farmers are no longer alone. Not only are the people behind their cause, but a wave of agricultural discontent has now spread across Europe, with similar movements reported in Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, and other countries. In Belgium, for example, farmers have blocked traffic arteries and are planning a protest outside the European Union headquarters during a summit of government leaders. They are seeking to get their issues on the summit agenda and win some concessions on financial matters. Elsewhere, the Belgian protests have intensified, with actions such as blocking the port near Antwerp. Spanish farmers, too, are getting into the game, announcing their intention to join the protests, with a Spanish Farmers Association stating that they would take to the streets to oppose strict European regulations. They are calling for a halt to the EU's ongoing negotiations on deals such as the Mercosur Agreement, as well as negotiations with countries such as Chile, Kenya, Mexico, and Australia. And then there is Germany and other European countries like Italy, Romania, and Poland, where similar farmer protests have also occurred. The farmers' demands vary by country, but But at its core, the issue that has played perhaps the most significant role in all of this is the carbon neutral agenda, the EU's ambitious Green Deal rules, which aims to make the bloc carbon neutral by the year 2050. This has been a particular point of contention, and with good reason. These rules, under the guise of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, promoting sustainable farming practices, and transition towards renewable energy sources, is gutting farmers all across the EU. The Green Deal is damaging the farming industry and making farming untenable in many cases. You see, the Green Deal includes strategies to improve the sustainability of food systems. However, these strategies will almost certainly lead to a reduction in food production due to several factors. First, there is the push towards shifting towards healthier diets. The Green Deal, you see, encourages a shift towards healthier diets containing lower quantities of animal-based products, meaning less meat. Then there is the increased sustainability standards. The Green Deal will change the way goods are produced and consumed, requiring higher sustainability standards in primary production and industrial processes. This will increase production and export costs, especially in the short term, potentially leading to a decrease in food production. And then there is the restrictions on agricultural inputs. The Green Deal's farm-to-fork strategy is calling for reductions in the use of certain agricultural inputs, such as fertilizer and pesticides, by the year 2030. These reductions could increase production costs and decrease agricultural output, leading to higher food prices and potentially further global food security, i.e. starvation for the masses. Now, to be fair, the French President Emmanuel Macron had called for a pause back in early 2023 on the European environmental regulations, arguing for the need to protect local industries competing against countries with lower standards, such as China. But it was still just a pause, most likely because he understood the then-growing outrage towards the Orwellian policies that the EU Green Deal was putting on the people of France. But, despite his call for a regulatory pause, Macron at the same time had also unveiled plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and meet France's climate-related commitments. These plans included reducing dependency on fossil fuels, boosting electric car use, and setting ambitious targets for reducing emissions by 55% by 2030. Essentially, Macron's pause stance was just for show. They were going to do it anyway at some point, and I think the farmers know it, which is why we are seeing these massive protests. It's now or never. In the meantime, the situation remains fluid, and we certainly will be keeping an eye on this developing story as it evolves. And that, my friends, will bring our episode to a close once more. From the To Be Frank show, I am Adrian. I'll see you all next time.